This committee meeting to order, May 20. And we have two items on our agenda tonight. The first one is to discuss the residential property, and the committee will discuss residential property that is located next to the city's old municipal landfill. So we invite Mr. Sanborn and his lawyer. Is your lawyer here, Mr. Sanborn?
No lawyer?
No?
Okay.
Okay, all right.
No, and I just to give you some background, I had a meeting with Mr. Sanborn last Thursday, and he'd been requesting to get this information to you folks, which was the package that he gave to me that Dale Thistle had put together for him. We couldn't get some of the tests. I want to try to get back all the tests from SW Cole on the wells. They didn't get that to us until yesterday, but I tried to get that out to everybody so you'd have copies of that. And during a meeting, he wanted to make sure they had an opportunity to address the council and to discuss these items with you. So that's where we are right
Okay.
now.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
I hope you all got this letter. You should have a copy of it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
This letter was dated January 24th of 2014. And Bill, you should have received it shortly after that, and you forwarded it to the city attorney at that time. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, we don't know why it never came forward until now. But I would like to go through the letter. It said this letter is to inform you, this letter is to offer to sell the city of Old Town the Charlotte Sanborn property adjacent to the now closed landfill. The relevant history of the Old Town landfill is well known to the citizens and elected officials of Old Town. A brief review indicates that the landfill was opened sometime in the 1950s. In fact, it was 1952. Problems with landfill began soon after the dump became operational. Certainly by the early 1960s, complaints were voiced regarding citizens' concerns. Had of pollution and polluted groundwater escaping from the landfill. Throughout the period of operation of the landfill, Mr. and Mrs. Sanborn resided at their present location at 2001 Bennett Road, closely adjacent to the landfill. In 1983, perhaps 30 years after it opened, the Sanborns had to have their hand-dug well replaced. In 1985, refinancing the home, a new well was drilled. At approximately the same time, the dump pre-closure program began. And in 1993, the dump was closed. At least as early as 1993, water tests had been conducted on the Sanborn property's wells and faucets. A report was produced October 29, 1993, of which the Sanborns have but an incomplete copy. However, for those pages available, it can be discerned that as of late October 1993, a Phase 2 hydrogeological evaluation was performed, and as a result, the report states that the depth of ash sludge disposed in this area is deeper than anticipated, at least 35 feet thick in some areas. In addition, a minimum of 15 feet of this material lies below the water table. Monitoring wells were installed for the study. All showed some influence of landfilling. The wells nearest the neighbors, MW102, showed traces of VOC and toxic metals. VOCs is volatile organic compounds. Low levels of arsenic are present in both the near landfill wells and the Sanborn well. The low gradient in the area and the relief on the bedrock surface make flow prediction difficult. There is some potential for flow towards the domestic wells. It would be prudent to either provide an alternative water supply for the neighbors or to conduct additional evaluations of groundwater flow and leachate transport in their vicinity. The landfill had a documented impact on nearby groundwater quality. Solid waste and sludge are saturated with groundwater in the northern portion of the site. Iron and manganese are present in the Sanborn well in combined concentrations exceeding secondary drinking water levels. And the unknown source for that document we don't have. Entitled Old Town Landfill Transmittal, October 29th, 1993, Job 1096, as enclosed in Exhibit A. And I hope you all have Exhibit A somewhere. And on the second page, third paragraph down, it just reiterates the depth of the sludge at 35 feet and a minimum of 35 feet below the water, at minimum of 15 feet below the water table. On the third page, it also states, iron and manganese are present in the Sanborn well in combined concentrations exceeding secondary water drinking levels. In addition, if we go back to the original letter now, in addition, an email from Peter Nickerson to Roy Kraut dated 9/13/94 states, if the Dion well is abandoned, the chance of contaminants being drawn into the Sanborn well will be increased. The degree of increased risk to the Sanborn well is probably impossible to quantify, and that's Exhibit 1. And the letters at the bottom of the paragraph of Exhibit 1, in that letter dated 9/13/94, from Roy Kraut to Peter Nickerson, just states the Dion well is abandoned, the chance of contaminants being drawn into the Sanborn well will be increased. The degree of increased risk to the Sanborn well is probably impossible to quantify. Woodland Current Environmental Services stated in 1995, we propose that the city either establish a new well for the neighbors or that the contaminated properties be purchased by the city. Both of these options are far more cost-effective than options such as establishing a leachate system, primarily because of the difficulties caused by the wastewater. Below the groundwater table, either of the recommended approaches will substantially reduce or eliminate the public health risk. And Bill knows about that because I did share my medical records with him. I've asked him not to make them public. And that's Exhibit 2. The second page. In that letter, it just states, we propose the city either establish a new well for neighbors or that the contaminated properties be purchased by the city. Remediation measures have been attempted by the city. We do not suggest that the city has failed to do anything at all to address the obvious need at the Sanborn residents. However, the city has failed to remediate the problem. The city landfill leached contaminants into the groundwater, which subsequently poisoned the water wells on the Sanborn property. Excuse me. And the Sanborns are dealing with this problem 20 years later. Testing has been negligently conducted by various agencies and businesses on behalf of the city. There have been numerous gaps in monitoring and evaluating the chemicals leaching from the landfill and contaminating the Sanborn water supplies. Documented gaps have been acknowledged by the city, occurred in 2003, 2004, and 2006. The Maine Department of Environmental Protection, hereafter DEP, has been involved in the closure and remediation effort. In fact, letters were received from DEP stating that your water does not appear to be contaminated from the landfill at this time, and there's emphasis added on that. Note the careful qualification. It may be at risk and should be monitored. I hope the town will pursue responsibility for monitoring your water supply in conjunction with efforts for landfill closure. and that was in Exhibit 3. And that is on the second page of that item. Letter of Roy Kraut to DEP, October 12, 1994. Throughout the 1990s did take place. Denials likewise came that the water quality was dangerous and deteriorating. Testing done in September 1996 was negligently performed. The tests were obtained from water which had previously been run through the water filtration system. And that is Exhibit 4. And that is a letter to Edmund J. Bearer of Redmond and Winchell. It's the third paragraph down on that item. At some point in the remediation effort, the city provided the Sanborns with bottled water for household use. As of April 1997, the city terminated that program and no longer would provide bottled water. And that's Exhibit 5. And that is, again, a letter to Edmund J. Bearer at Redmond and Winchell from Spencer, Zimtowski, and Miller. In May of 1996, it was decided on recommendation of Robert Gerber Incorporated that the Sanborn well should be monitored for the indefinite future, yet concluded that it was fit for domestic use. This obvious, self-contradictory conclusion, later contradicted by science, undercut the need for the city to continue to deliver bottled water to the Sanborns, which was then ongoing. Gerber's hydrogeologist, Andrew Tolman, concluded that traces of arsenic continue to be present in the well. And that is Exhibit 6. And it says, for parameters tested, the third paragraph down says, for parameters tested, the water quality of the Sanborn well remains acceptable. Traces of arsenic continue to be present in the water. The next paragraph down says hardness and chloride, showing apparent increasing trend. Both remain at acceptable levels. Existing information does not link the increase of these two parameters directly to the landfill. However, these small but consistent increases suggest that the water feeding the well is becoming increasingly mineralized, and it's possible the landfill may be associated. And on the second page, it also states that it would be prudent to continue negotiations to purchase the Sanborn property. And that is dated 1996. As of 2000, DEP investigation and testing resulted in a significantly different assessment. Water samples had begun to be collected and results obtained indicating some elements which exceeded maximum exposure guideline standards, in particular manganese and arsenic, exceeding the established guidelines. That is 7, 8, and 9. And that is dated August 25th of 2000. Page 1, it says, however, manganese at 72 parts per million. And arsenic at 21 parts per million. So since manganese and arsenic in your well water exceed established MEG standards, the DEP recommends that you use bottled water for cooking and drinking purposes. Your water is suitable for other uses. And 8 and 9 are just more test results. At some point in time, it was decided by the city council to purchase the property lying between the Sanborns and the landfill, the so-called Dion property. Back boundary ran 105 feet from the Sanborns to the old Boomhouse Road. It is believed the city purchased the Dion property for $85,000 in 1993. The funds to purchase that property came from the city's fund balance. Land acquisition costs were not part of the city's landfill closure grant from DEP. The city explored purchase of the Sanborn property in 1995. It had an appraisal done which established a market value of $70,000 for the property at that time. And that is Exhibit 10. And this one is a letter to myself from Spencer Zimtowski and Miller, just saying that the appraisal was done. Mr. Wolf's letter to the city, December 7, 2000, expressed low levels of arsenic were detected in monitoring wells near the Sanborn property. Yet water samples from the Sanborn's residential well showed that both arsenic and manganese exceeded MEG standards. Sadly, the time between the sampling the Sanborn well and the landfill wells were too great to determine if this difference is significant. And that is in the letter dated December 7th of 2000, and it went to City Manager Paul Mezzacaro, I believe is how his name was pronounced. Continuing concern after closure of the landfill caused the city to install a treatment system at the Sanborn home at a cost of $2,750. As of 2008, total cost of the closure of the city of the Old Town landfill was then identified as $1.34 million. Yet serious problems remain with the landfill, and serious problems remain with the water supply to the Sanborn residents. And that is Exhibit 12 from Wolf to myself, and that's Ted Wolf from DEP. And that is the third paragraph down. It says, on August 21st, regarding these results, I stated that I thought the landfill was the most likely source of manganese and arsenic. I also suggested that you use bottled water for cooking and drinking, but that your water was acceptable for other uses. Second page, third paragraph down, it says, you do have arsenic and manganese in your water. Your well could be influenced by the landfill. But to obtain a more definite answer as to which contaminants might be from landfill and which might be neutrally occurring from the rock structure in which your well is constructed would require additional studies. And it says, and the next one says, we have enclosed a copy of the survey of the Sanborn property done by Forrest Smart, licensed Maine land surveyor. And all they did is they asked him to mark where the well was on the map. And if anybody doesn't have that, it's right there. It's up here in the top corner.
Up there. Right.
Referenced above also recommended that as a precautionary measure, you sample the water, Sanborn well quarterly, and that sodium be added to the current state of can't even pronounce that word, analyte. In addition to this basic testing, we recommend that you test the well annually for EPA 524.2 VOC compounds, which has not been done in several years. If any of the indicated parameters shows a significant increase, the status of the well should be reconsidered. And that is item 14. Second page, it says, we recommend a precautionary measure, you sample the Sanborn well quarterly, and that sodium be added to current suite. In addition to basic testing, we recommend that you test the well annually for VOC. And that is July 2nd, 1996. And like I said, that has not been done annually. As we know, testing has been inconsistent. perhaps even negligent. And certainly haphazard, given the history laid out in short above. Years have gone by without testing. Testing has not been consistent. It has been less frequent than experts have recommended, and testing performance has not been scientifically reliable. Testing has also been delayed in the mail, and that is item 15, and that is a letter to Edmund Bear from Spencer Zimtowski, just saying that the water sample that John Ellis took at the time was delayed in the mail. November 1st, 1996, we believe the negligence continues to the present day. See Exhibit 16, recommendation number 3. A memorandum of Dick Bear to Bob Burke, DEP. It is my understanding at the beginning of this year, 2012, the city of Old Town increased the sampling frequency to quarterly. This was recommended by Gerber Incorporated in 1996, 16 years earlier. A water quality summary prepared by Bob Burke, project manager, Division of Remediation, Bureau of Remediation and Waste Management by Dick Bear, environmental hydrogeologist specialist with DEP, states that groundwater quality data for several monitoring wells located adjacent to the closed landfill demonstrate landfill-related contaminants. Can you continue to degrade groundwater quality in the immediate vicinity of the landfill? The memorandum mentioned that Norland Water Treatment, LLC, installed a treatment system at the city's expense at Sanborn's residence. This treatment system was installed to reduce concentrations of arsenic and manganese to acceptable levels. The slightly elevated chloride concentration, coupled with the relatively consistent low dissolved oxygen, suggests the presence of arsenic and manganese is related to the landfill. And that's item 16. Second paragraph down, and it just states the same thing. Over on the second page, it comes back to the same thing. Dissolved oxygen is related to the landfill. 20 years have passed since the landfill was closed. 60 years have passed since the landfill was opened. Throughout that time, the Sanborns have resided at 2001 Bennick Road, closely adjacent to the Old Town landfill. Efforts have failed to ameliorate the poor water quality at the Sanborn home. The Sanborns believe the significant length of time which has elapsed and within which the city has continued to kick this problem down Times Road shows negligence on the part of the city. Their lives have been adversely affected, their daily life and perhaps even their health. And Bill, I think you agree with me after seeing the medical test, they have been affected. That their daily life and perhaps even their health have deteriorated. Certainly their water problems have depleted the value of their home under any reasonable market analysis. They cannot drink their own water, and they put themselves at risk if they take a shower using their own domestic water supply. The Sanborns demand closure of this threat to their health and safety. They demand more than twiddling of thumbs and can kicking this issue down some timeless road. They demand that the city cease waiting for the problem to heal itself. They demand compensation for years of worry, of discomfort, years of inconvenience. All efforts have failed to make them whole. They ask the city to use its fund balance or whatever resource it may draw upon to purchase their property and adequately compensate them for their injuries. As Tolman and Gerber, consultant, recommended, it would be prudent to continue negotiations for purchase of the Sanborn property at a mutually agreeable price as a preventative measure. And that's Exhibit 17. It's a city plan, letters to Andrew Tolman, to Charles Hine, and city planner, March 22nd, 1996 again. Others have opinionated similar. We propose the city either establish a new well for the neighbors or that the contaminated properties be purchased by the city. There is no way to precisely quantify the value of 20 years of concern and emotional and mental anguish that come from being on guard every day to the possibility that you may get ill. And boy, do we know that. You may develop some life-threatening illness from merely living in your home, exposed to chemical contamination. How do you place on the value of the fear that showering and laundering or performing other household chores will cause you to become ill from exposure in contaminated water? Yes, drinking water has been supplied by the city, but no one else lives there. No one else lives daily with these concerns. The Sanborns do. No one else has been denied life insurance because of exposure to arsenic in their water supply, but they have. 20 years have passed, and there is still pollution coming into their home, and it continues to the very day. One expert opinioned that the Sanborns water supply might get worse if the Dion well was closed. The Dion well was closed, and there are ample indications that the Sanborn water problem has gotten worse. Almost 20 years ago, the Sanborns built a new garage. It cost approximately $23,000 prior to building that garage. They were assured by the city manager and the public works director that there would be no problem with the landfill. So go ahead and build your garage. The Sanborns may yet have a negligent claim against the city as a result of the contamination of their property. The demand herein made upon the city includes that potential claim and any and all others. The Sanborns will convey their property to the city of Old Town and have asked that I place a demand before the city of $350,000. I trust that you will bring this before the city council and respond as soon as possible. And Bill, you and I spoke about this the other day. And we did speak about damages somewhat. I did feel that it was something the city should accept. And I think you felt the same way to a certain extent. But I think that it's time that this comes to an end. I think the city has played games long enough. It's time for the city to accept responsibility, stop being the bully, and step up and do what's right.
Is there anyone else who wants to address this issue? Anyone on the committee have any questions?
Yep, I got a few. I have a few. Mr. Sanborn, I'm pretty sure I'm trying to go by the dates. Thank you for all the information, by the way. Trying to go by all the dates. I'm pretty sure I was on the council back in '96 when this first came to the council. And
You were.
yep, and I remember some councilors were for it, some were against it. I know it was really a money thing, and just it was the dollar amount where we're at. And I know, just me myself, that I think we should have purchased the property. I think we should do that now, but I also think it comes down to our money, fair market value. I need to hear from the city manager and the city attorney our liability. I don't think anybody's been playing games or that we're the big bully. I think we want to do the right thing. We're still gonna, whether we purchase the property or not, we're still gonna have to test this property.
Right. That's our landfill, so that has, those test wells go on forever, basically.
Right, okay. So our liability would be, if we don't purchase the property, the liability as always would have been if something happens, the city's held liable.
Potentially, if something happens there.
Right. Fair market value.
Now, when I had the comparables done a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was now, the closest comparable at that time was in Orono. A house that actually had 3 bays in the garage, in the storage area over it, was at $199,000.
$199,000 for a comparable property.
Comparable property, and that was done by ERA Dawson.
Bill, what's it on our side?
The current assessment, Well, it's reduced considerably because of its
because of the
location.
landfill.
I'd say in
If-
the
if-
660,
42% it's reduced.
Yeah.
So if that
that's-
property was somewhere else within the city, just a guesstimate, what would that be?
I don't know.
That house, that size, garage?
I'd have to look at sales.
I mean, I won't hold you to it,
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's not
You
60,000.
you won't, because I won't give you an answer.
I'm
It
assuming,
would, yeah, it would
I'm
have to
assuming
be.
it's not $60,000, I guess it's
No.
fair to
No.
assume.
No.
No,
Okay.
comparable property, if it wasn't next to the landfill, wouldn't be assessed at $60,000. I don't know. It's a 3-bedroom ranch with a large detached 2-story
Garage.
garage.
Right.
I'd-
It's got 3.5 bays in the foundation, full work area above the garage, and also has an attached office.
Right. No, once again, I'm only one person, one vote. I will tell you, I thought we should have purchased it back then, but to me, back then and even now, we're way far off on money from what I can tell. And I understand what you say, the damages and all that, but to me, it comes down to, money and where we're gonna find it, where we're gonna pay for it. And, I think we should do the right thing and purchase it, but I think there has to be, gotta find a reasonable price, and until we, in my eyes, until we establish what that would be, I don't agree with it being 60,000 because of the location. I think it should be compared to if it was somewhere else in the city. And I think that's, in my eyes, and I said it back years ago, that to me makes up for whatever damages there are. But that's just my 2 cents. Once again, I appreciate you bringing all this information.
Yes, thank you for bringing all this to us. What liability do we still hold if we purchase the property for Mr. and Mrs. Sanborn?
You could hold
Yeah,
medical
yeah, that's what
and
I'm,
anything
so,
else that comes our
Mhm.
way.
yeah.
So if we, Eric, you would chime in,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah, Dale's, one thing you'll notice in Attorney Thistle's letters, he doesn't articulate a legal basis for a claim against the city.
Right.
And it is problematic. The city has a lot of protections, liability protections under Maine law. The starting point is the Maine Tort Claims Act, and the Maine Tort Claims Act gives you blanket immunity for against most claims. It carves out specific exceptions. One of those relates to pollution, but it limits the city's liability for pollution to sudden and accidental discharges. So if you had a chemical storage tank at Public Works that suddenly ruptured and that flowed onto someone's property, that you would be potentially liable. Case law seems to be fairly, it's sparse in Maine, but it seems to support the argument that long-term leachate from a landfill over a period of decades is not a sudden and accidental discharge. So there's a threshold problem, legally speaking. I'm not saying what's right, wrong. I'm not
Right.
saying
No.
what the city should do, but as far as legal liability, there is a threshold problem here in asserting a claim against a municipality of this type for leachate from a landfill. And I don't think you'll find any of those cases in Maine when you search. They aren't there because the liability is not there, as far as litigated cases. Having said that, Mr. Sanborn has presented a claim. He is, if not advocating this either, but if you were to accept Attorney Thistle's proposal, he would sign off and waive all of his legal claims against the city, whatever they may be. There's a public health and safety concern, so it would be legal for you to reach a settlement and use city funds to fund that settlement in some amount. You can settle this case if you choose to. But the legal liability, I think, is in the city's favor for the most part on this case.
Okay.
There's no other, is there any other property attached to this? Is this I know the Dions and Sanborns, was there
It's
another
it's
one?
Yeah, you get the Stoyle House right next to it.
Stoyle House,
Yeah,
that's what it was.
That's what I,
Okay.
yeah.
And
one-
also, John lives up by that way too, but further up.
Who is it?
When you look at all the houses
Oh.
going up,
Okay.
and on the other side, because we own that.
You know
Right,
better,
the other
yeah.
side.
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know
on the
what,
stream.
I guess, market value would be
Now,
if it was located somewhere else in Old Town.
One thing that I did learn, and it was in a note that came from Dale at the time, was that, and maybe Eric can verify this, it was only in a note that I found, that Maine Municipal Association pays up to $100,000 in a case like this.
What do you mean, pays the city? Helps fund the
I-
city or
I-
pays you?
Pays $100,000
Take it as was an insurance.
I showed it to you the other day, Bill.
Not sure. Yeah. I can check.
It
and
was
see.
just a note that we found.
That it would reimburse the
And
city?
it was,
I
it
don't
was
know.
like an
Yeah.
insurance for the
Okay.
city.
Maybe we can check into that.
Yeah, maybe there's some things that we need to check into. What do you think, Bill? Are you willing to?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have an appraisal done, I mean, typically what Casella does around the state landfill and they purchase properties is they do an as-if valuation. They go out and look at comparable properties in Old Town, as if the landfill's not there.
Right.
So, you know, they would look at his house with comparable properties in rural Old Town on, is it a couple acres of land you have?
Yeah,
Charles?
there's an acre there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they appraise it as if that's not there. That's
Right.
what they look
Mhm.
at.
I think that's fair.
I think that's, yeah.
At least,
The other thing that I would ask, to each one of you counselors, put yourself in my shoes. If it was your property, at your personal house right now, what would you want? How would you feel? That's one thing for you all to look at. And Linda, you're real close.
I'm real close, but I would have moved.
But I'm just saying, it's, and this can spread in a year, it can spread 5 years. Who knows how far it's gonna go in the ground?
but I think, once again, I'm not gonna harp on a lot of stuff, but I really think in the past, it's really been, the money wasn't there,
We
it was a
weren't-
big
yeah.
difference, and I think that's been the problem, and I think that somehow, we gotta try to find an equal value.
Yeah, maybe we get a appraisal of fair market value on the house and talk again and see how far apart we are then and what we're gonna do. Does that seem reasonable?
Does to me.
I would also like some explanation on some of on these graphs, because I can understand some of it as far as post-treatment, pre-treatment, those kinds of things. Do you still have your, New Orleans, the filtering system? Do you still
Yes.
have that? Okay.
Yeah,
So that's
in-
what this
in-
means
in-
is,
In fact, that was down, in the last 3 years, it's been down 17 days. So every time it's down, we have to go completely through the whole house again, decontaminate everything else, and we have to go shower someplace else. And that's a lot of fun.
yeah.
It's just,
So anything that is mechanical can and will break down.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The little house that used to, the Boyle's house,
Yeah.
because Joe and I bought that house.
I remember.
And it's not there any longer, the pink house. But we had problems with that well, but it was a lot of the things that you have in here where it was so low to the water table. We had to bleach it, and we had to do different things to it as well to be able to drink the water, and it didn't have that sulfur smell. But that was a yearly thing that we had to do.
had to do.
Yeah. And it was because of the water table, because of the pond.
So
And I
I-
noticed that that's some
Yeah.
of the things in here.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm confused, what you're saying is you would have Casella look at it? I guess I was confused what you mean.
No,
No, we would look at
a
it.
realtor,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Have an appraisal.
Yeah,
Mm.
have it appraised.
Does that seem a reasonable approach to everyone on the
I think we
committee?
gotta start someplace.
Mm-hmm,
Right,
Get a baseline curve.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and get a value and then talk again.
Yep.
Okay,
At least we started somewhere.
that's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and the second item on our agenda tonight is the combining of the water and sewer departments. And that's really not correct, because the water isn't a department of the city, it's a district, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the water district and the sewer department. Okay, we kind of talked of this before, and then we thought that we might want to hear from other people. So is there anyone else who wants to speak to this issue?
Be Sean, probably.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I'm Sean Small.
Come right
Why
up
don't
to
you
the
come
mic,
right up
Sean.
here?
Usually my voice is loud enough.
No, you gotta sit right down.
They won't be able to hear you on TV.
Yeah.
And would you,
Oh, that's
pl-
right, I'm on TV, huh?
That's right.
Yeah.
Just come here a little bit, you'll be fine.
I'm Sean Small, I'm chairman of the Board of Trustees for the Old Town Water District. And as a district, we've been talking about this for the last 4 or 5 years. And we had the opportunity, I think, 3 years ago to share superintendents. Frank Kearney was our superintendent, and then the city leased Frank, if you will. And that was a good opportunity to see, well, is there a savings in doing this? And from our perspective, we saw immediate savings, lowering of rates to our, I won't say lowering of rates, not the need to have a rate increase as soon as we had to from the savings we got from Frank, also serving as superintendent of the sewer departments. Frank has left, and he's gone. Our budget went up, your budget went up. And we thought then, in talking with Frank, that maybe this is something we should look at. There are a lot of unknowns out there. Every situation is different. I believe you have copies of the Augusta Sanitary District's apples and oranges, but it's similar.
Wasn't
We can
fun
see-
reading.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't fun.
No.
I didn't get through it all.
We can see opportunities in equipment sharing, in cross-training, in personnel, not just the superintendent, but opportunities for the existing personnel we have. And we think it's worth exploring. The district budgeted $10,000 this year to put into this effort. I've talked to the town of Milford. They're in complete agreement. Their town meeting isn't for another couple of months, but they are so excited about it that they will immediately put in $5,000 towards this effort. I think it's a good opportunity, and the thought is to become a utility district. The sewer department would no longer be part of the old town. The sewer department of Milford would be no longer part of Milford. It would be one entity under a utility district. To go one step further, I contacted the Augusta Sanitary District and asked them who in your districts has gone through the whole process, would be familiar with it, that I could talk to. And I got an email from, I think his name was Ken Knight, and he's now the chairman of the utility district. And he and I had a long telephone conversation. My first question to him was, if you had it to do over again, would you do it? He said, absolutely. They had a rough road. If you've read that, I think they had something like 10 or 12 entities. There were lawsuits flying back. Some towns didn't want to do it, some towns did want to do it.
They had more, there were more of them than there are of us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, so
I
it
think
was,
there
and which might make it more cost-effective, too, because it's a bigger district.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
it didn't at first, because
No, I know, it costs,
a lot of
well, it
money.
costs them a lot of money to do
Oh.
it.
And I wouldn't even be recommending this. We wouldn't even budget anything if the stars weren't aligned, because right now, the three entities that would be involved are, well, we're all willing to go ahead. If we all say, let's look at it, we've avoided 90% of their problems right there.
Well, that was one of the things that they made very clear in that report, is that if you don't have both boards and everybody really in favor of it, it's not going to work, because it's very, very, very time-consuming.
Yep.
And it takes a complete commitment from both boards. And I question how valuable it's going to be for Old Town, because I know that we were paying the water district when Mr. Kearney was in charge of both, and we were paying the water district. So actually, our budget probably in personnel is down a little bit. The treatment plant.
I don't know.
I would think
I
so,
don't know
because.
your side of that budget.
Well, I would think so. Well, you're on the advisory board of the treatment plant, too, right?
On the advisory
Yeah.
committee, yes. I don't
And
wanna
so,
be
and we
vague.
were paying, yeah, so, and the city was paying the water district $1,000.
I thought
Wait.
there was a savings. The last budget I looked at on the sewer advisory, I thought there was a savings, but that's
There
neither here nor
would
there.
have to be, yeah.
That's neither here or there. The point is, we think it's worth $25,000 to look into it, find the pitfalls, learn what potential savings we may have.
Do we see a lot of
Actually,
savings?
For our users that we have, the water users and the sewer users,
Yeah, there's,
we're always looking for ways to save money. This is one possibility.
the water district is funded by water district fees, user fees
Yes.
solely. So, and so is my worry is the Old Town taxpayer. That, of course, that would be our biggest concern, I would think. And that's what, so, and the people who support the treatment plant, or those are sewer users in Old Town, right?
Excuse me, I'm,
Well, the budgets of are paid by water users,
yes.
and the budget of the treatment plant is paid by sewer users, right?
Right, you actually use
Yeah.
our water rates to establish your bills.
Well, I understand that, but, yes, we use your water rates, but, yes, but it's the sewer user that is paying the fee
That's correct. In
to
Old
run,
Town
to,
and
yeah.
Milford,
And so that's my bottom line is, worrying about them. And, we'd have to study a lot of things, like you have you're doing the new road, the water lines in Bradley, the water district is.
That's right, we have water lines.
Yeah.
Brenda.
And
They're
so
using-
if we're a district, then that becomes part of our responsibility
No.
too.
It
Well,
is part of your responsibility
yeah.
right now.
Well,
You're not changing. You have two appointees. You appoint two people on the water board.
yeah, I understand that, yeah.
That won't change. The users in Bradley's, they're users. In Penobscot Indian Nation, they're a user.
Yeah, they're customers.
And we charge them what the cost is that everybody else is charged.
And how about Milford? What do they pay?
Milford is a charter member. I'm a representative for Milford.
And I understand that too, but I mean, what do they pay? What is their sewer fee in Milford?
Well, I don't know. I'm strictly primarily water right now.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of this study. We want to see, is it compatible? I mean, I can tell you some incompatibilities between Old Town and Milford right now that is going to have to be looked at.
We've,
But the question in my mind, for the water district, is it worth $10,000 to find out, can we save our users money? And our answer was yes, and you have to make up your mind,
whether our
and the
answer
town
is
of Milford
yes.
has to make up their mind.
And Bill, where would that money come from?
Would it come from?
It would come out of wastewater, is where it'd come out
And
of.
so
Part of
again,
their reserves.
so it'd come out of the
Are they reserves? They have about.
sewer users' fees.
$350,000 in reserve right now.
So when this becomes one big district, is it still checks and balances that, they still have to come
If, yeah,
before?
if,
No,
not when,
no,
if.
they're
No,
all
no,
going
yeah.
down.
Okay.
Yeah.
If,
If, that's what
Yeah.
I was thinking. I didn't know.
couple things. So, did Brewer go through this?
No, Brewer went the other way.
They went the
Right.
other way.
What happened in Brewer,
I thought-
I looked at that study just for information, because I was curious about that.
Right.
The water district in Brewer spent a lot of money. I can't remember the exact number, but something like 40% of their expenses was debt service, which is way high, and the city did not like it, and they took it over. Our water district, for example, I think we're under 15%, which is healthy. And that was the problem there. It went the other way. They went from district to city department.
But they were city department at one point, then they went district, then they went back to the city department, I'm assuming.
I don't know if it was a double flip-flop. I know it
Oh.
went the last time. It
It went
went
from
from
district
district
back,
to the
okay.
city.
So I know Jason Folsom couldn't be here tonight. He called me the other day and mentioned about, because he's on the sewer advisory committee.
Right.
And I just told him, and I'd say this tonight, for me to actually having a valued opinion about this, I would have to see the study. I'd have to go ahead and say, we need to spend the money to see the study, to see what this really means, because none of us know.
That's right.
I mean, if this district, if
But
this
some of
goes
the
forward and looks like
questions
we
we
can
can
save
answer
money,
ourselves.
can we really save money? Is it just on equipment? Is it on people? Is it on who's responsible for what? If we do this, then the district is responsible for everything. No matter what the end result is, the taxpayers, you're right, I mean, whether it's sewer, water, whatever, I mean, they're the ones that are gonna be paying the bill. So I totally agree that, but
And
to actually get
I'm
the
wondering if-
information, I don't think any of us have that unless we
Well,
do
but-
this thing.
But it's there. I mean, do we need to spend $25,000 to find it? Do we need to spend $25,000 to find out what the sewer user in Milford pays now.
We don't know.
Well, no, and I think the biggest thing, you know, just to kind of follow up on some of the things that he said, my own opinion on this is that I don't think we're going to save a lot of money when it comes to actually personnel. I think your water and sewer departments are about as lean as you're going to get them. You definitely do have opportunities with cross-training between those two groups if you did that. Certainly on equipment costs, you don't have that issue, and there's probably some savings in billing. But the thing that you don't know, if you don't spend that money, is there's no evaluations of the systems.
The lines
So we
and
don't,
stuff, right?
we don't really know that. We can make a lot of assumptions, and we could have the folks who do, you know, engineering work for the water district, and we could have Wright Pierce who does stuff for, you know, sewer, make some assumptions on things. But when you talk about spending that money, you're actually going to get an evaluation of both of those systems and the condition that they're in and what type of debt may go to each one of those and how they should be split out. You
Yeah,
know,
they
there's some
break that
smart
down.
people who work on both of those boards who can make some pretty good assumptions on things, but I don't know that we'll get to anything where anybody would really feel comfortable with saying, let's go forward without having a study.
So that's exactly what that study would do, is actually get down to the nitty-gritties, especially how well our pipes and things are as far as,
And I think
Look
both
like.
towns have really already have that information. I think sewer systems have been evaluated quite well in Milford, I know, and I believe they have in Old Town, so. At our last meeting, we've had some informal committee meetings, if you will. The question was, you know, $25,000. I have no idea if we are going to be spending that much or not. And we're looking at forming a committee, representative from the district. What was that breakdown? I forget what it was.
I'd have to go get my notes.
We had a breakdown of how we'd form a committee, and then we'd proceed ahead. And this committee is going to be frugal, and it's not going to waste your money. And if we reach a point where we just can't see it working, we're going to stop right there. We're not going to spend another nickel.
The other thing too that Mr. Folsom said to me was stormwater. That don't be shocked in coming, because I think Bangor does it. They charge a stormwater fee. Don't be shocked if that's what's coming down the road. And this would be one way you tie all three of them together.
That was
Stormwater,
very
sewer,
interesting.
and so when you told me that, that's really what got me thinking. And that's when, for me, anyways, it was like wouldn't have an answer unless we see this study, especially knowing that stormwater is part of
That's
this.
what scares me, because I
Right.
don't know.
Right.
Water and sewer are very compatible. I can see that working. But when I talked to Ken at the Augusta Sanitary District, they are now incorporating stormwater within their sanitary district. And he told me they wish they'd have done that the first time.
And that's another whole,
That's
another
ball of
whole
wax.
thing, and that's a lot easier to say than to do, because so, does anyone else have any comments out there? Anyone else want to speak to the issue? Okay.
Oh, Phil,
Oh, thank you.
thank you, Sean.
You?
My name is Phil Dunn. I'm a taxpayer. I'm also the chair of the Sewer Advisory District. I represent, I guess, the board, the other two players on the board. We came to kind of consensus. We'd like to go through this study too. I can see pitfalls and I can see the positives and so on and so forth. The part about the draining systems that you just referenced, yeah, that would have to be part of it. We're mandated. We're not going to have an option on whether or not we choose to treat that type of water or look at it. So this might be the beginning of it. The other thing to let you know is that, I don't know if you follow the American Society of Civil Engineers or not, but they put out they put out what's called an infrastructure report card. And the main section of the American Society of Civil Engineers puts out a report card too. And quite honestly, the grades are terrible. Water and sewer are probably a little bit better than roads and bridges, but you're still looking at a C to a C minus for grading. We have some old systems here in this community. I've been on the sewage treatment plant board since 1997. We've had some significant problems with things like infiltration coming into the plant. We have seen that we have unidentified lines in areas like on French Island. We've had things that are broken and so on and so forth. And we have quite a lean staff right now. The whole staff sits behind us here. And they're down at least 3 people from when I started in 1997. And I don't know how these folks do it, but they're doing a great job with it. But we have to look in the long term. Are we going to be able to sustain that quality with the type of system we have? I'm not sure. So I think that this study could help us identify some of that information. I do realize that there might be some pitfalls in the future. I realize all of that. But as Mr. Small just said, the intent is to expend monies up to a point. If we find out that this is fruitless, then we'll just abandon it. Otherwise, we'll never know. And we can keep piecing together the way we've been doing it. I did also wanted to emphasize again that there is a difference between the district and the department. I think you all know that. So we're not trying to cram that down anyone's throat at this point in time. But we do want that to be a consideration. Okay?
Thank you. Okay, so where do we want to go with this? What's everybody's opinion? Take it to the full council, and I think we need, if we take it to the full council, I think we need to wait till July, Bill, because we don't have time to make the public aware that it's that we're even considering it. And it is an if, as we said. But I think people have to know that people are concerned about the fees they pay. And I think we have to understand that not everybody in the city pays these fees. That is important to remember. There's a good number of people in Old Town that don't pay sewer fees and don't pay water fees. And those of us that do, those of us that do are a little bit more sensitive to the issue.
And I think
Yeah.
you're right. I think that's the,
So
Phil said
I
maybe
think
one of
we
the
need to have
pitfalls
people
that-
understand. We need to,
that if this district is formed, that, they'll be the ones setting the rate.
That's right.
yeah,
Oh.
say, yeah,
Won't be any checks and
Right.
balances
Yeah,
with us.
yeah.
I personally think we should send it to the council and see what, like you say, wait till the budget and stuff, and,
Mm-hmm.
If it's,
are you taking it, where were you gonna take it out of?
It's coming out of their budgets, out of sewers.
And you already said there's a reserve account anyways? Oh.
So,
But that's
I don't-
still, we haven't said we're doing it yet,
no.
so.
No, but we're just.
You don't make any decisions.
Right,
yet,
it's
and
just a
that's-
study.
Well,
This
we
is
haven't,
strictly the money for the study.
we're bringing
Yeah.
the study to the full council.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes,
How
uh-huh,
long will the study take?
I don't know.
I don't know.
They didn't say, that wasn't in that.
Wasn't in
No.
No. I don't think we need to take a vote on that, do we? We'll just put it on the agenda in
Yeah, I mean, we
July?
just bring it back up.
Yeah,
You put the
I know
dollar
it's-
amount on there?
If they're gonna check all of the, literally the pipes and other things that, to see that.
well, they've got a lot of that already done, though.
Well, yeah, it's true.
I mean, Wright Pierce knows a lot of what's going on, and
All the
does,
systems, our infrastructure is not what it used to be.
One recommendation, then, I recommend to move this item to the full council.
I'll second that.
all in favor? Any more discussion? Okay, there's nothing else to come before the Public Affairs Committee unless someone else has anything. Motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Right. So, John's not here, so economic development is EJ Stan and myself. You guys ready to move on? Okay. I call the May 20th, 2015 Economic Development Committee to order. Airport land request. The committee will discuss a request to lease land at the airport to construct a hangar on. I don't believe John, oh no, why do I keep saying John?
That's Lance.
Lance. I'm sorry.
Good evening, councilors.
Good evening, sir.
I got a handout I want to pass out here, a couple of them.
Yep.
to the counselors. This gives you an idea of
people
what the
keep
layout
saying
is,
that
and
was
what the
just-
structure is gonna be.
Something just drew out in the crowd there.
And I brought a copy of the minimum standards for the
Thank you, sir.
and a copy of our lease agreement.
Is all the
If
same?
anybody wants to see them, I can.
Are they all the same?
I don't know what this.
They're all the
What's
same,
this
yes,
one,
there's
Lance? Is
this-
this yours?
That looks
Must
like
be
the
some-
original.
The original, yes.
Maybe there's something on there I want to read.
I just wanted Lance to come here tonight just to kind of give you guys a quick update.
for everybody?
That's just to pass around if you want
Oh.
to see it.
Yeah.
He's
That's the
been wor-
minimum standards in the current lease that we've adopted. It's been through the Airport Advisory Board, it's been to
The
the
attorney.
city attorney
Okay.
and Bill. So anyways, we have one tenant on the airfield now who was interested in building a private hangar. We've located a space for him that's already permitted. I have already submitted a make sure I get this right, a 7460 to the FAA. All that is we send them the dimensions, the area we want to do the construction on. They'll come back within 30 days and give us approval. According to Stantec right now, that is in a good area. It's located between the Cherokee hangar and the fuel tank. So
That's
all
where
the-
this is?
Yes,
Is that what we're talking about right here?
yes. Yep, that'd be the highlighted
So-
with the new apron attached to
Where it
it.
is over here, though.
Yeah.
That's
right.
just the side end view of that, showing you the elevations.
So where's the terminal on this? This one right here?
Right there, yep.
Okay, so that's the terminal right there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's right across, okay, I see.
That little
You
one,
see the
right?
fuel tank and the.
Yes,
and the
now I
hangar?
Fuel
understand.
tank's this thing right here, where my tip of my finger is.
Okay, yep, nope, that makes sense.
So it'll be located in between those two structures.
Yes.
It's, like I said, it's already permitted for construction. It's pretty cut and dry. Utilities are all accessible, so he could hook up to water, sewer, and electricity with no issues.
So we're just leasing the land,
Yep.
and
We'll be
he's going to pay for the construction of
Right.
the hangar.
Yep, correct.
We would lease the land and tax the building.
And the committee's met on this, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Everybody's in favor, I would assume? I don't see, to me, it looks like it's a win-win, I guess. I don't see where there's any,
Correct.
Except for us that live by the airport.
oh. Oops, sorry about that, Pat.
Especially on guard weekend.
So it's I'm trying to read, it's so small. What is it, 80 by what? What does it
No,
say?
it's a
You could-
48 by 50.
48 by 50.
Yeah, it's 22 foot in height.
So how many planes would you put inside this?
Well, he has an amphib. It's a 182 Cessna. It's pretty high. It's a pretty big aircraft. It'd probably be just his.
Oh, just his. So he wouldn't rent space out to anybody else. Good.
He possibly could.
Yeah.
I don't foresee that with Mr. Lacone.
Yep.
So that got two engines, two big engines? or
Single
just
engine.
Single, they make the most noise.
Yeah, it's a pretty big Cessna, so it is fairly loud.
It is. Well, sounds like to me like it's a good idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think
Wow,
it's
I
a,
I
it's a
shouldn't
first
look at
step
Linda
in-
when I
in
say that.
developing
Yeah, we've been,
Airfield.
yeah, we've been striving to have people invest up, at the airport and to get some other people
Yep.
spending their money up there, which is a good thing.
Mhm.
yeah, I
So
agree.
who, what about specs and all that? Does it have to match like what's up there already?
Yep.
I'm assuming, and
It's same color and everything as the rest of the
same
buildings.
color and everything.
Yep.
Everything's gonna match.
Yeah, it's all in the minimum standards for the, we have it all drawn out yet.
Okay.
Gives them all the statistics.
Make a motion, we move this to the full council with our approval.
There, a second?
Second.
Okay, so that's Stan and EJ on the second. All those in favor? Discussion, I'm sorry. All those in favor? None opposed? Okay, great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, you want this stuff back, sir? Lance, you want that? Listed? Oh,
We want
thanks.
you to
Last
try to
one-
really like
last
the
one-
airport.
last one,
We want you-
yes.
Trying to get you to buy into the airport.
On my deck.
Okay.
School, you know?
Moving on to number 2. Ron Harriman, he will provide us with a brief review of the economic development activities during the past year. A brief review, it says.
I asked Ron to come here just because he'd gone through this with the LLC boards. I thought it'd be a good idea just to
It's a great
get
idea.
a chance to come and
Yep.
give you some idea what he's been up to in the past year, so.
Good.
Tried to keep the council pretty well informed throughout the year. We've met from time to time on a number of initiatives, and provided a monthly report, and of course Bill reports regularly, so, and he's involved with everything. But I provided, I hope you all got a copy, just some bullet points. I thought I'd just run through those
Did you get them?
quickly with you. So,
Linda, did you
some of the things we've been doing,
I had two.
Need it?
I had two.
we did a tax increment
had to.
financing program. We first established new guidelines for the city so that we've got clear and concise policy as it pertains to TIF. And the project that we recently completed will save the city $112,000 a year. And over the life of the TIF, the city will save over $3.3 million. And what we hope to do is to build up a TIF reserve fund that can be used to pay for some of these things that are important to the city, like the downtown revitalization, whether it be infrastructure or some type of innovative program to help with upgrade properties. I also plan to bring to you at some point soon a proposal to create another downtown TIF program. The Jefferson Street School, I know you've all been closely in the loop on that, but we got started on that even before the property was transferred back to the city because we didn't want the building to become a liability. So we tried to be as proactive as possible and developed an RFP, and I showed, I don't know, 8 people, prospective developers through that building, and we did end up with three development proposals, and I think the one we selected is going to work out very well. As you may recall, they're planning to invest upwards to $1.8 million. It'll be upscale housing, it'll be taxable, and I think will become a real asset to the city. Downtown planning has been a big focus over the past year. We've had really good participation, lots of outreach. We've got a downtown planning committee that's been very active and closely involved every step of the way. EJ is on that committee. And Wright Pierce is our consulting firm. We've done 2 public meetings so far. We've done a lot of advertising, outreach, newspapers, direct mailings, and we've had really good attendance and I think a lot of excitement around the downtown plan. It seems to be unanimous that people want to see some life brought into the downtown.
Carol's on that committee too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's,
I would just add that they are getting a little impatient, though. I mean, I do hear that. I don't, yeah.
they the committee or they the community?
The community, the community, which is a bigger problem because we don't want to lose them.
Right, right.
So
But-
they're hoping that funds show up sooner than later. Is that what the?
I think they want to see something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, we did say from the get-go that we
yeah, but-
recognize the importance that we didn't want to rush it. We want to make sure it's comprehensive and really spells
Yeah,
out
I'm
what we
just,
wanted to do.
I'm telling you what I'm hearing, and I understand. When you start talking, people want to see something.
We
I can't be the
we
only
do
one.
expect to most likely be able to roll out that final plan to the community in June. We're going to meet as a committee next week and review the draft plan, so I think we'll have that in final form very soon.
Nice.
So hopefully that will result in some priority goals that the council can then review and adopt and put on the short list, hopefully. And it also will put us in much better shape to obtain grants going forward, whether they be CDBG or MDOT. any of those agencies like to see that you've gone through the process and you've got a plan. It'll also complete the requirements we would need to address a lot of what would be needed for downtown TIF. Business recognition program. I know this was near and dear to Mayor Mahan's heart, and we kicked that off several months ago, and I think it's going very well. And we're selecting a business on a regular basis, and there isn't any real hard and fast criteria for that selection, but we're looking at businesses that have made a contribution to the city, or a recent large investment, or they've just been here a long time, and they're worthy of being recognized. So there's quite a long list of those, and we plan to continue working away at that. What we do is we give them, in most cases, a paddle with an engraved plaque on it, and something they can hang on the wall.
And we work with the Penobscot Times to get a picture in there, and then they do an article on them. It's kind of free advertising for the business. So.
No, but it's not free anymore.
Right.
We are a business too. Yeah.
We've done a lot of work to the website, and I think that we've got a site now that is much more complete, it's more accurate, and it's just much more effective. We're updating it on a regular basis. We got recent news stories, featured businesses. We've got links to the businesses. We're doing ongoing visits with businesses, just to check in with them and try to get a good handle on what their needs are and concerns are. We've got several businesses right now that are looking for locations in Old Town, either a relocation or a new location. And as you all know, available spaces or land on Stillwater Avenue is pretty scarce. So we've been working with University of Maine successfully, I might add. And they have agreed to add up to 30 acres, 30 plus acres onto their surplus property list. So I think that that's going really well. It's hard to predict exactly when anything will actually be available. But that is, I think, really good progress for dealing with an entity like UMaine.
Absolutely. The trustee signed off on it, so that's a good, I mean, you've got pretty good, you've gone pretty far just with that.
We've met with Sewell a couple of times during the past year, just to try to be tuned into what their needs are, and to be as creative as possible as a community to help them come up with a solution that will be mutually beneficial. I work with the LLC ongoing, and we meet every month, as you probably all know. The LLC is closely involved with all economic development activities, and we're in the process right now of setting goals for the upcoming year. Orono Old Town Fiber, that has really gone to the forefront, especially in the past few months. I think there are 17 bills in the legislature right now that deal with high-speed broadband, as opposed to one bill, I think, last year.
Wow.
So there's a lot of momentum around high-speed fiber, and a lot of the infrastructure is already in place, as you may know, for the University, Orono, and Old Town, and you formally entered into a partnership interlocal agreement with them. So we're planning to resubmit applications this year to the Northern Border Regional Commission and Connect Maine. And I think that the requirements and the criteria for selection is going to be hopefully modified a little bit to make Old Town's chances of success a little bit better than last time. Working with the town of Orono to create a food hub, and that process is fairly new, and some funding was just received from Bangor Savings to kick off phase one, which would be the data collection. Airport Business Park, we've been working with Lance, and also we have selected a Realtor and listed those properties in an attempt to just give those lots that are available for lease more exposure. Also have created signs. A sign that outlines where the lots are and our local contact information. In addition, there's Realtor signs on the property. And Public Works has done a nice job on the entrance fairly recently and dressed that up quite a bit. So I think it's got a lot more curb appeal than it had.
Good.
Business loan program we're reviewing right now with the LLC in hopes of making that a bit more user-friendly, and we'll be approaching lenders in Old Town to see if they want to participate and to try to design a program that would take some of the burden off the city as far as evaluating creditworthiness and tracking the loans on a 15-year term. This is what they do, and it just seems to make a lot of sense to have that conversation. And if we're going to have this program, try to really kick it off and make it useful.
So this is basically the UDAG loan we're talking about, and that would move to existing bank.
That's what's being considered.
Yeah.
So
That way they can do credit checks and do stuff that we really can't
correct.
do.
Yep.
And now the percentage might go up a little bit, maybe on the lending or whatever, but at least they would have more information from the people that apply for it.
I think you're right. The percentage would go up, but other things would still make the program work, because when you look at debt to income and
Right.
things like that, that we could be more lenient on.
Well, makes sense.
So I'll be
Yeah, is that the loan that we get,
The UDAG sheet that we get.
we want to really switch it to, we haven't been stung on that, have we?
Oh, there was.
Well, no,
That
one
one
time,
person,
but
one
it
person.
also takes, a lot of the responsibility from the city chasing that money.
When it's 1, 2, 3 payments behind, stuff like that, and then it would take it off the city's hands. So as far as if someone is 6 payments behind, and when Miles would bring it to the council, then we kind of like, that would totally be out of our hands at this point. It would actually be in the bank's hands that would deal with that we wouldn't be put in that situation to have to deal with it.
That was the thought.
I agree with Linda. We haven't had really, all in all, a lot of, but
Because a lot of times going to the bank for some people, it's a difficult thing.
This would be set up in such a way that they'd be able to qualify for this easier if they, usually why they come to us, not always, but they come to us just because of the standards they have to meet to get the loan, and certainly that's being considered in having the bank do that. It takes a lot of the political side of it out of it, though, because then we're not talking about somebody's financial.
But I thought that was kind of a service that I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either, but,
We'd want to come back.
yeah, we'll have to
Maybe
come
walk
to, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like the standards would be the same, it's just that it's not day-to-day, but stuff that the finance department wouldn't have to deal with, and
But
type
we
of
just
thing.
have not very many loans.
I know.
We'd like to structure it so that the city still gets the recognition and it
Right.
still really initiates it. It's just that all the paperwork part of it is handled through the bank.
It'll be back to us anyway,
Yes.
right? Mhm.
But that's gonna cost us money anyway,
Yeah.
isn't it? I mean, the bank's not gonna do this for nothing. So I mean,
It's a-
in the
it's
long
an-
run,
yeah.
I'd rather hire a part-time employee to do something like that than pay the bank.
You're gonna bring it back to us.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, anyway,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
my 2 cents.
that's another discussion, I guess.
Another time.
So that's pretty much what I had.
Thank you.
Thank
Great,
you.
any questions for
Thank you.
Ron? Thank you, Ron, very nice job.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you, Ron.
Really good, thanks.
Okay, that is it for this committee, so look for a motion to adjourn.
So, second.
Stan, Linda. Oh, Linda's not on the committee.
Second.
EJ. So
I was gonna say,
Stan,
how'd you get on that?
EJ. I almost went along with it. Discussion.
Try that next time.
All those in favor? None opposed.
Good try, though.
Yeah, I almost went for it. Okay, are we good? We don't need to take a break, right? We'll take a break when we go into executive
Yeah.
session, okay.
Mhm.
So we will move on to,
Air conditioner on.
I call the May 20th, 2015 special council meeting to order. Flag salute. EJ, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Silent roll call has been taken and a quorum is present.
Okay, we'll move right along. There are no minutes, petitions, communication, citizen request. I don't believe there's anybody from the audience. Okay. Reports, the only thing I had was budget meetings, and Bill's going to take care of that under his. Standing committees, any committees meet about anything? Okay. Patty did give us all a new list of who's on what committees tonight, so we have that. City councilors.
I just want, but Bill might have been doing it in his update, to remind people about the parade Monday, Memorial Day Parade, 11 a.m.,
And it starts at the high school.
right.
Very good. City attorney? Special committees? School board liaison? City manager?
Just got back some proposed changes. Jim Katsifikas had been working on them, talking about the review process for the landfill, which he was gonna change the landfill ordinance. Instead of having the council sit for those reviews, that was gonna get moved to planning board. We talked to that late last.
I think he came to us and talked to us about that, moving it.
But anyway, he's sent that forward to me, so that's something that will be coming up in June to you folks, to take a look at that. Part of that's also gonna be sending in an application, to DEP for intervenor status. By doing that, we'll receive $50,000 for the review of that application. So if the planning board needs to hire a different engineer or somebody to review anything that's gonna come through there, they'll have that opportunity to fund that out of that. June 3rd, here in the council chambers, Casella will be doing a review of that expansion from 6 to 8 on June the 3rd. And basically, part of those meetings that they had this past fall where they just laid out, that was a lot more specific, but they're just gonna lay out in general the timeline, what their expansion, the proposal is, and they're probably gonna get that application to DEP by July 1 is what they're trying to do. And the only other thing, we are through our initial budget discussions with all the departments. Miles is just trying to clean up some of the numbers right now. I don't know what you folks' schedules look like, but if you want to get together next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if you want to take a look at that, and I can certainly send out an email to you.
This would be the finance committee like normal, and you usually do those during the day, right?
And it's still, and it's finance committee meeting, but certainly anybody who wants, from the council that wants to attend those.
Right.
We have a meeting Wednesday so it can't be Wednesday, Bill.
Unless it's later, a different time of day.
Yeah.
What's on Wednesday?
175th.
At 9.
Yeah, at 9,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Who else is on the finance committee? Is it John?
Carol and I and John, and you were the ex officio, yeah.
Oh, John, okay. You guys just gotta figure out a time
Yeah,
during the day.
What I can do is send that out, and like I said, if there's other council people who want to attend the meeting, that's fine to do that.
Are you talking one day or all 3 days? One day?
it'll probably have to get I mean, I don't want
Yeah.
to take someone's
No.
whole day.
No, so,
So I'd like to kind of schedule it. And basically what I want to do is go through that just to lay out, here's our initial first pass at the budget, what
Mm-hmm.
people have asked for. Then you have an opportunity to come back, obviously, and say, how come X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z? I'd just like to go through those first steps, just so you can hear from everybody what they're thinking and
Are you gonna give the departments any of a guideline as to percentages, or,
talk to them about that.
okay,
I've asked for them, to try to stay at 3%.
okay, all right.
But some of that, again, and some of the, without getting too far down the road on that, I mean, sometimes things in some of the smaller departments, there's changes in benefits or insurance costs that go up that they have no control over, and
Right.
suddenly they don't have a 3% increase, but they don't have any control over that part of their budget.
Right, but
so-
at least it gives them something to work
Right,
towards, that's
yep,
all I was
yep.
asking, okay.
So once you work it out with the committee, you'll just send out
Yeah,
an email to everybody.
I'll send everybody out an email tomorrow, and, I mean, if we can do it over, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's fine, or a couple days,
Mhm.
because I'm sure it's gonna take a little bit to get through all that, but.
If you buy them lunch, they might be here at lunch, I don't know.
That'd be
I
twice in
yeah,
one
I-
week.
The
What?
weekend-
I said that'd be twice in one, no, it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
just be
That's a
one.
different week.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good, I'm good.
Any questions for Bill? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, moving on, consent agenda, public hearings, old business. New business, we have 3 items. City council consider issuance of warrants for the June 9, 2015 special municipal election. Council McLeod.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves issuance of warrants for the June 9, 2015 special municipal election.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Carol, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. 5-0. City council consider setting hours for the register of voters for the June 9th, 2015 special municipal election as presented in attachment number 1 and recommended by the city clerk. Councilor Roach.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves setting hours for the registrar of voters for the June 9th, 2015 special municipal election as presented in attachment 1 and recommended by the city clerk.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Linda, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? Okay, can I get a motion to discuss an item that is not on the agenda?
So moved.
Carol, is there a second?
Second.
Stan, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? Last item for the evening, the city council consider going into executive session for the purpose of consulting with the city attorney concerning the city's legal rights and obligations with respect to a pending property tax valuation appeal with Expera Old Town LLC. Councilor May.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves going into executive session pursuant to Title I MRSA 4056E for the purpose of consulting with the city attorney concerning the city's legal rights and obligations with respect to a pending litigation matter, property tax appeal, with Expera Old Town LLC.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
EJ, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? 5-0, and I have 7:58, Patty. Okay, we'll just take about a 2-minute break so we can get started.